Well, welcome to Stencils and Such. We have tons of ideas for you today. And what we're going to be working with is this from our friends at Hunky Dory. This is called Layering Ornate Tiles. And as you can see, there are 4 stencils. They're going to be combined in multiple ways. And this is one of the projects. Look at this. How gorgeous is that? Okay, won't you please come play with us? Well, as I said, these are the 4 stencils. They come in this little envelope, and it's very nice because it even gives you kind of where you can see how each of those stencils work. And we'll talk about this, and the stencils just slip into that pocket, which is very nice. Okay, so I'm going to leave these here for a moment while we start with our very first project. And this is from Debbie. And you're also going to see some sparkling going on this card. So let me show you what she's done. So this would be a monochromatic. So we are in the blue area. And so she has taken a piece of cardstock. And one of the things about these stencils, or a couple of things about them, is that, can you see that groove right there? And there's another one down there. Those are alignment markers. So what you would do is take your cardstock or whatever you're going to work on, and you know what? I'm just going to put this down and hold it with some of the low-tack tape. It looks like this. And I'm going to take this, and they also have letters on them. So in the area that does not have that little bite out of it, there's A, B, C, and D. Now this happens to be D. I'm not even going to try to have you see this, but if you purchase these, you'll see it. So there is that in the corner, and if you don't see it in that corner, look in that corner. If it's not there, turn it over and look at the other straight corners, okay? So I'm going to place that down right here. Again, I'm going to add the extra sticky tape just to hold it down. Now, normally I would be working on my craft mat, but just for this purpose, I'm just going to leave it here. Okay, that doesn't look very square, does it? I don't want you going crazy because this is off kilter. There we go. Now, what, excuse me, what, I beg your pardon. What Debbie did is she used the sponge daubers. Sometimes they're called finger daubers, and in this case she used the D, and she used the Prussian blue. So here it is, and I just want to do just a smidgen of this on let's see, 3 of the 4 projects this technique has been used. So what I did find as I was doing samples for you is that I found it better just to kind of wiggle a little bit. It just seemed to get the sponge down into the images a little bit better. So, and what's nice is that you can see how dark it gets, okay? So if I just do it like that, it's pretty light, but if I wiggle it, it gets darker, and the darker is really what I'm looking for. Okay, so she did that through the entire cardstock. So I am now going to put this in my water bath over here. And I'm going to, and as if you've been watching these, you know that I just don't recommend that you just lift that stencil and move it, assuming that it's perfect. I think it's just always such a good idea to lift a corner and just make sure that it did what you wanted it to do, okay? And what I wanted to do was to look very blue, and that's exactly what it did. Okay, now it's safe to do this. I'm going to now put this in the water bath, and I'm going to lift this off, and through the magic of, oh, whatever, I have another sheet ready for you. And this one, I have taken the same piece, and I've got my 2 notches, and now I am taking the B tool. So right here, I'm going to line it up with those little divots that I got before. Okay, so now it's just exactly where I need it to be. And I'm going to tape down my cardstock and my stencil, like so. And now in this case, you know, I forgot something. I forgot to tell you something. I beg your pardon. Okay, so then the next step is to get the sparklies in place. So I would bring back the same stencil, and yes, okay, it's a little wet, but there we go. So you see it has those stars in the center. Okay, so I would bring that back and do exactly what Debbie did. She used this blue glitter texture paste, also from Hunky Dory, by the way, and she used the palette knife, okay, to now pretend that the stencil is in place, to lift this off and just spread it on just to get those center areas, okay? So then you have to let that dry, which is why I did it last night, okay? Now we can move on to the next step. And the next step is this. So I'm lining that up, making sure it's all straight. And I'm going to take the bee, which is in place. Now I'm going to take the blueberry, which is just a lighter shade of the blue. Okay, again, this is a monochromatic. And I'm going to take my another of the sponge daubers, and I'm going to go over those center areas. And depending on how juicy and new or old your ink pad is, you will be able to fill those in. Now, another nice thing about the stencils is, like I said, you can see how colorful, how rich a color is that you've put on, or how faint a color. So it's just really up to you. Now, in this case, this is the third layer that we've used on this one card. And, okay, so I'm just going to dab a little bit more and lift this off, just the corner of it again. There you go. And you see how it completes it. Now, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and do a little bit more just so you get more of the image. So it's not going over that blue sparkly star that's in the middle. It's just creating a frame around it. And that's exactly what Debbie had in mind. But you know, she wasn't done there. She positioned this differently on her card. So let me show you that. Okay, we're done with blueberry. There, that's going to give you a better look. So you can see what a nice job that is. All perfectly aligned. I would also tell you this, I'm going to pop into the water bath. So when Debbie was done with her piece of cardstock, she decided to put it on her card. But first, she wanted to add more blue. So she chose the papers that are in something unexpected. I wouldn't have thought Unexpected Beauty would be used, but you can see the blues that were done. So she took one of them and covered her card. Then she took this cardstock and trimmed it close to the stenciled images. Now remember I told you that the center is glittery? I hope you can see it. Maybe you can't, but they are just nice. So to accent that glitter, she matted this piece onto this blue, and this is called a blue mix glitter. And so she matted it and then placed it in a diamond. So when you have a square and you turn it on point, it becomes a diamond. So that's what she did onto her card. So she's got some different techniques in here, matted onto the blue mix glitter and turned it on point, then just trimmed off the areas that were a little too long. That's perfectly fine. Now, the To My Friend and Bloom Wherever You Are Planted, those are out of the Unexpected Beauty die cuts right here. So they just go right on. You can foam tape them on, which is exactly what Debbie did. Those cactus and the flowers are out of the chipboard, which she colored with markers. So that just worked nicely. So that is our first card. So she has taken the regular ink pads and did the daubers on them and then added that metallic blue. So very pretty. Okay, we have more. I'll be right back. Now Lene has done this card, and in this card you can see she's got two colors, so the pink and the blue. But the pink is raised, so I'll show you how she's done that. To begin with, she took one of the center step die cut cards. Now they come in a package like this with 5 cards and 5 envelopes. Also in this package, there are patterns to cover the edges, to do the center if you want to cover that with paper. So that is included in the kit. Okay, so she has taken this blank card and has covered the sides of this with this paper. And this is out of the Blue Persuasion. So this is all blues, just gorgeous blues in here. And you can see that she used this paper for the edges, just those 2 steps, and then as a panel right along there. Okay, but let's get into what she did with the stencil. And in this case, to demonstrate this, I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to demonstrate onto, these are papers from that collection. And as a matter of fact, I think this is the area that she used to cover the edges. So you can see I've already done the first layer. And actually, I think this paper is the one that she used. So I think I'll just hold on to this one. And she took the A stencil. Now, I don't know if you can see that I've got a corner treatment there and a corner piece right there. And I use the finger dauber, and this is Prussian blue, the same darker blue that we used on the first one, and then let that dry. Okay, now here is the tricky part. Well, not tricky, but just another part. Okay, so she wanted to get a raised pink, and we didn't have a raised pink, so she wanted to create her own. So what the lady did is she had the craft mat, and she took the Orchid ink pad, and there it is. Okay, and she simply squished it 3 times. She's written in her directions. I'm just going to do it a couple times so that you get the idea. Now, this is a new product that we're carrying. It's called Light and Fluffy Modeling Paste. I do need to tell you that my idea in buying this was to use it for snow next Christmas, but Lene decided to take a little bit of it out and mix it with the ink right there. So we'll just do that too. So I'm just going to spread this. Now that's Orchid, which is a purple, but when you only use a little, it's kind of pinky. You probably do want to get it, you know, fully the same color. Okay, now with that, she took the stencil, and this is going to be the B stencil. I'm going to line it up with the 2 little divots, and isn't that smart that Hunky Dory did that? So easy. You don't have to buy a special tool or anything. It just works. I'm going to tape it down. Okay, now I'm just going to use my palette knife and just do a little bit for you, okay? So you just want it to go into the open area. And when you do that, you will still hear the palette knife scrape along the stencil. And that's exactly what you want to have happen. Okay, so this is going to be very pink and blue, which is great. And you can see that it doesn't take much. And so I'm just going to do a little bit more, so you've got the idea. Okay, so I'm just scraping this across the stencil to let it fill into those open areas. And it's going to give me some dimension. No snow, but some dimension. Okay, then I'm going to put this, you know, I would keep doing that obviously, but for my purposes right now, I'm going to put that into the water bath. I'm going to lift this up so you can see how that pink is right there. And when it dries, let me put this also in the bath. When it dries, it is raised, and it stays pretty true to the color that it dried. And then she also used some fuchsia jewel dazzles into the centers. The Blessed Every Day of the Year, that is from the paper collection. And another reason why I wanted to show it to you on patterned cardstock is just so that you can see the difference, that when you have a lightly patterned, whether it's that one or even this one, these are both out of the same blue Prussian collection, it just gives you, I think, even more detail. So choices are yours. Now, Lene just did the front. You can do something on the inside, or you can use that to write your message, just whatever you like. Okay, I have more. Wait till you see this one. You know, I forgot to tell you something about that. Remember the light and fluffy? Okay, well, this is what it looks like when it's snow, when you let it be fluffy. So I just wanted to show you that. So stay tuned for that. And also, now we didn't have this when Lene did that project, but we now have, from Hunky Dory, a white and a black texture paste. So you can use this to color also. So just more ideas and more things that you can do. Okay, I'll be right back. Isn't this beautiful? Yes, I think it is too. Okay, this is a 6x6 inch card. And what Debbie used here in the center is suede. And I only have a piece, but this is the tan suede. Do you know you can do stencil butter on suede? Well, you can. Okay, so she is using suede. She is also using, this is Flit and Flutter 6x6, and this is the sheet that she used for that she's going to put the suede onto when she's done. So she's got this. And the brown, she really felt that the Hidden Animals Solid had a better brown to go with the tan. So that's what she covered her card with. Okay, let's get to the stenciling part. Now, on the suede, here is the suede that I used. And I went ahead and did the first layer. So I'm going to just tape that down. And then this used stencil A. And you can see the little notch there. And this really works better when I am straight over it, but for right now, this is what I'll show you. So I taped that down, and I used, as Debbie suggested, the Dune stencil butter. Did my palette knife, just like we did a minute ago, and just spread that over. And of course, I'm just doing one small section because I don't need to take your time to do the whole thing, and then lift it up to make sure that that's what I wanted. Okay. So that was with A. Then I'm going to come back with C. Here's C. We haven't used that yet. And I'm going to align up those little marks. You see how that goes right over those pieces. And I'm going to put that with the low-tack tape. And then I'm going to use chocolate. Now, we found out something about chocolate. Evidently, the Crafters Workshop is not making this anymore. We have a few jars here. I have ordered a product called Grrr, G-R-R, I think it's G-R-R-R, that will be here shortly. And it is also a brown. So just don't want to show you something that I think is just drop dead gorgeous and not give you the supplies to make it. That would be horrible. And you don't do that to a friend, do you? Okay, so here is chocolate, and I will be talking to the owner of that company to find out what was she thinking about discontinuing something called chocolate. And you really don't need that much, Paulette. Yes, you can talk to yourselves while you're doing this, and I'm just going to spread that over this. And it will stick to the stencil. Isn't that nice? It's just works so beautifully. And I'm not sure why we have all the pounding going on, but could you hear the rain earlier? Okay. And you want to get that nice and smooth. And we will do that all through this. Here we go. And you just go over it. Again, you want to hear the stencil kind of, or the palette knife kind of scraping over the stencil. That will make sure it is completely filled in. Okay. So you're just going to do that to complete it. Now I'm just going to finish where I am right here and take the remainder, put it back in the jar, and put my palette knife in my water container because you don't want that to dry onto your palette knife. Now I'm going to lift this. Now I didn't get into the edges, but I did in this area for you. I want to make sure that that is there. And look at that, chocolate all over. Just beautiful. Now when you're doing 2 layers of stencil butter, you do need to let them dry in between. It doesn't take long. I did this last night and then let it dry and brought it in today. But look at that, and it just stands up like this. So let me move this out of the way. And I think doing this brown on tan is just brilliant. So here we have the finished card. You see those crystals? They're brown, and they were also added after it was dry. And the hello there is out of our Dazzles. This is out of We're Together. And then this is a die cut out of the Flit and Flutter dies. And again, like I said, that is the paper. You can see that she did ink that a bit when she put it down. It's not as gray as it is here. So you can use the one of the brown ink pads just to give that a bit more of the tone you want. But I think this is just something to really, really remember. Oh, there you go. Now you can really see it. Just gorgeous, just gorgeous. Okay, I have one more for you. And this is right here. Let me bring it to you. I'll be right back. Okay, and here is our last card. And Lene wanted to give you an example of what it would look like if you followed what the colors are right here. So she brought in, let me see, warm honey and pink petal and peachy and roasted pumpkin. Let's see, let me get these down here so you can really see them. Okay, so those are the colors, and that's exactly what she used here. And you can see as the colors are shown right there, once again in the wallet. And so she simply followed the directions and used every single one of these to finish her project. So all 4 of them, 4 stencils, 4 ink pads. And don't you love the fact that these are inexpensive and yet they last forever? And the fact that that ink pad is raised just makes it so much easier to use. Well, those are things I really like. So she did cover her cardstock, and she did put it on this card. This is our 5 by 6.5 inch card. You can see that she put, these are the copper jewel dazzles in the center of each one. The thanks so very much, and the paper comes from our paper pad that I don't seem to have right here, but you can see it. I think that this is watercolor wildflowers. And then this is the copper jewel dazzle. She just used our jewel border. She used the border to go right along there to give a little bit of color going on with this. So very, very pretty, and nice to see all 4 stencils being used. On the other projects, we each used 2, D and B, A and B, A and C, and now A, B, C, and D. Okay, so there you go. Oh, I think we've done a really good job of covering exactly what these stencils will do in your card making, but you can apply it to tags, your junk journals, to any paper crafting project. Really fun. We do have a money saver. It's on the right side of your screen. We also, on the right side of the screen, have a subscription. Now this time, of course, you're getting the 4 stencils for one low price of $15, but you're also getting, with the subscription, these brown adhesive jewels. Remember, they were used on this card, and they just do such a really nice flash of sparkle there. So that will be yours too. If you would like to join the subscription, you will receive your stencils before the webisode. And what's nice, especially with this one, is that you had an idea. It's just that Lene executed it for you. So you could have done that too. So here we go. And you will receive at least 2 stencils. Of course, this month you got 4 of them, so that's nice. And the free idea too. Okay, so that is on the right-hand side of your screen too. The designers, both Lene and Debbie, did write some information along with their supply list, so that should be down below. Just click on whatever project you're interested in, or all of them, and you can print that out if you would like. Okay, so that's what we have for this month, and next month we're going to have even more. I want to thank Lene and Debbie for just doing just a beautiful job, and for giving lots of ways to use these stencils. If you happen to be watching this on YouTube, please head on over to paperwishes.com. It's the only place you can get this subscription, and that you can get these ideas. And the money saver too. Okay, so thank you all, viewers and Lene and Debbie, for joining us. You make our day very special, and this is why we do it, is to share things with you. Okay, that's it for today, and we will see you again. In fact, tomorrow. Bye-bye.